Hi, I am Steven Wener of Whistle Realty, brokered by eXp, and I have a fantastic guest that I have the pleasure of bringing on today, Mr. Mike Farrow of FlightPath Financial Planning. How are you, Mike?
Doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. I just want to give you a little bit of an intro of what Mike does, and he's going to tell you all the accolades and the acronyms that he has after his name. But Mike is a financial planner that's a fee for service. So what does that mean? If you think of a financial planner, you go, you turn over your money, your portfolio, you have no idea what's going on, and then you hope that they grow your money based on how aggressive you want to be. What Mike does is he takes an in-depth analysis of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, who you are, what your goals are, and based on that, you can then determine if you want to move forward, what a plan would look like, and then he can plot out your future for you. So let me know if I nailed that correctly.
Yeah, Steve, I think you did a pretty good job of describing what I do there.
Yeah. So FlightPath, let's start with that, right? From a financial planning standpoint, FlightPath, that to me tells me you have some sort of an affinity with aviation.
I do. I have a kind of a long history with aviation, starting as young as a kid flying gliders on a westward hill out in Lake overlooking Lake Hodges in Escondido there.
Nice.
So I learned a lot from a young age. I even went into aviation as a potential career, and then decided on ultimately to become a financial planner, and wanted to work with pilots.
That's awesome.
Kind of one of my core groups there.
And I've never heard that where there's a niche for pilots. So obviously FlightPath, the passion, but does FlightPath mean anything else as well for you in putting that in the title?
I think it's also kind of an analogy of your path throughout life, that you start at the airport with an intended destination, which is essentially, in this analogy, would be retirement, and all the different phases of flight along the way. Again, I don't want to get too much into like airplane analogies here, but I think it's a good way to visualize somebody's path from beginning all the way to a comfortable landing at the end, which is essentially retirement.
Yeah. And when I think now just really putting FlightPath into what it means for you with all these obstacles that like will appear along the way, turbulence, right? Different things that happens. So how do you see yourself as the beacon within what it is that you're trying to help them navigate?
Yeah, so I like to be that a trusted referral, not referral source, but source of information for my clients to come to when they go through these different phases of life.
Yeah.
So I kind of work with a non-traditional client, which is a much younger client than the more traditional financial advisor would.
Yep.
And I focus on early to mid-career professionals, small business owners, and pilots. And so I help them go through their first home purchase and probably their second and maybe even their third, having kids, all these things that generally more traditional financial advisors wouldn't be there for because of how traditional advisors charge, which is an AUM fee.
What does that mean for our listeners?
AUM stands for assets under management.
Okay.
And it's attached. It's a percentage of the assets that the advisor is managing for you would be for his essentially fee for service. So as you can see, there's a barrier to entry that, if I'm a business owner and I want to get, I need to get X amount of dollars to be profitable per client, you would have to have a certain minimum to even get there.
Right.
Which is generally, $500,000 or more. I think is pretty traditional there.
And that's what I've come across a lot. So explain to our listeners why fee for service, in your opinion, was the route that you chose and why, so that they can understand what the difference is from fee for service versus assets under management.
Yeah, so being a fee-only financial planner means that I do not sell any financial products. I do not make commissions off of my recommendations. I wanted to be that trusted referral source that clients aren't questioning. Mike, you recommend the life insurance. Is it because you need to make your mortgage payment that month and you're making a commission off this, or is it because I actually really need this insurance? So I always wanted to separate that potential conflict of interest of selling the same thing that you're pushing in terms of advice.
And like if I use a doctor analogy, just with medication that's prescribed, most of the doctors really don't know what they're prescribing, but yet they think they're supposed to prescribe it. So I can completely understand and appreciate that. I also know that you're a fiduciary. So for our listeners, what does that mean?
Fiduciary means that I have a legal obligation. I've taken an oath to do what's in the client's best interest at all times. So a good example of a fiduciary obligation would be that I couldn't put you in an investment that wasn't right for you. So everything has to have that fiduciary standard behind it. Doctors take a Hippocratic oath,
right,
to do no harm. And I think that's why would you get financial advice from somebody that didn't have your best interest in mind at all times?
Sure. And you're also a certified financial planner.
Mm-hmm.
So a CFP, what does that designation mean as far as what you're bringing to the table to elevate the type of service that you're bringing to your clients?
So a certified financial planner has rigorous testing in order to be able to use those credentials. And you also have to have a certain amount of experience to do it. So I have been in the industry for quite a few years, and I am seen as kind of an expert in this space. I've been tried and tested, so to speak, on that.
Nice. So this isn't his first rodeo, right? Is what he's really wanting to say. But being a fiduciary and all these other things with the elevated education and how you're taking care of people make you feel extremely comfortable in planning out people's financial future. So can you also just run us through so our listeners will understand as they reach out to you, what does it mean to work with Mike? What is the process? Like if you can give us a bullet point, meet with Mike, this is what we're going to outline, this is what we're going to expose, this is what comfortable or uncomfortable,
yeah.
Right? Because I remember when I met with an attorney just for my estate plan, there's a lot of discomfort in the questions that need to be asked, but they're real. So how do you go through the layers of uncovering how you can truly help them?
It's a very long, short question with a long answer, so I'll do my best
Sure.
on this. So first I like to get a good understanding of what the client's goals are in
Yep.
life. That's really what I want to focus on. Yes, I'm also going to be looking at, making sure that they're putting enough money away to retirement, but I also want to make sure, essentially, giving them permission to spend money and enjoy life, not to just be putting money away because they're concerned about not having enough money for retirement.
Yeah.
So I think part of my job here is as a financial planner is to give that assurance that, hey, your retirement's taken care of. That's what we're monitoring. I want you to enjoy your life today.
Yeah.
So first is understanding the goals that the client has, the things that they want to achieve, like purchase a house. Not everybody wants to buy a house, and not everybody should buy a house out there. Sometimes, if you are a millennial and you're moving jobs all over the place, you're single, maybe buying a house isn't right for you.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of costs up front on that.
With those things, I know there's a lot more of an analysis that you'll do, and I can appreciate that you gave us the high level stuff, right? Because you have to unpack a lot of different things for people. But I truly encourage you to reach out to Mike. All his information will be here at the bottom of our screen for you to reach out to Mike. And because he's a fee for service, like what does it mean to reach out to you, or what does a first phone call look like, so that again, our listeners won't hesitate in reaching out to you? And if you can explain what that expectation looks like so that they don't hesitate, because people need to plan out their future, right? I sell real estate. I create a path to understanding what it means to buy or sell a property. I demystify everything, right? And demystifying this financial world, like if you just look at the markets right now, I don't know what the financial markets are doing. They're up, they're down. You get all this news all over the place. But I know that in having a conversation with Mike, you're basically going to unpack and remove a lot of anxiety and fear from these people so that they know that they'll be taken care of in their future with the right planning. Yes?
Yes. So kind of what that first conversation would look like, it's very conversational. So I do try and get a little bit of information to kind of guide our conversation through that first interaction.
Yep.
But it's not intrusive. It's not invasive. It is just really getting to know one another to figure out if we're a good fit for one another. I'm not a great fit for everybody, just like not all my clients or potential clients are going to be a great fit for me.
Sure. And I appreciate you saying that because a lot of people just want it all, where that's not necessarily the case. And just by you saying that really does tell me, and I hope you as listeners out there understand that Mike is just trying to serve. And sometimes two people don't mesh, but when people are really looking for the right planning, really looking to put things out there, you're going to help them achieve that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you having on the show. Thank you so much for coming today, Mike. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.